When I give my talks, I like to start with a phrase, I remember, because there aren't too many people who can remember what happened during World War II and what happened to the people here in this country. And so I think it's a way of helping people to learn uh, that it did happen at one time and it could happen again. I can remember um, when December the 7th, 1941 happened. And I remember asking my parents, what's going on in Hawaii? Where's Pearl Harbor? And why would the Japanese military do such a thing? And the response was they had no idea. We came in late summer of 1942, and when we got here, we came on prison trains. These were trains that were passenger trains, but converted to prisons by having armed guards at every exit. And I remember going through small towns like Riverton, going up through a canyon and some tunnels. And finally, the train stopped at a siding next to a place called Heart Mountain. And that's where I got off. I set foot in Wyoming for the first time in my life. They put us on a back of an army truck. Like cattle, we were stuffed into the backs of trucks, taken through the main gate. And immediately I saw the barbed wire fences, the guard towers, and soldiers with long-range weapons inside the towers. And I remember the train, the prison train that removed us from San Francisco, and eventually wound up, and I set foot for the first time here at Heart Mountain. So clearly, we were denied our rights in that process. I remember a gathering after dinner of these people having a meeting in loud voices. And people like Okamoto and others would describe the conditions and their philosophy that we should not serve until our rights were restored. And that kept building up until there was some 85 Japanese Americans in the camp at Heart Mountain who took the active step that when the draft came, they decided not to go and board buses to go to a physical examination, which is the first step in the draft process. And I remember the government wanted to build those schools, but the local people demanded that the government stop. And they never built these grammar schools. And the reason was they complained, why is the government building new schools for prisoners when people who are not prisoners don't get new schools? So the government stopped. They just quit making any more schools. And we had to convert some of the barracks into schools. And I remember the first class I went to, I was in the fourth grade. It was an empty room in the barrack, and some carpenters, the local carpenters, made some benches. And so that was our tables. The grammar school class that I was in, our class was a bunch of rowdy kids. And I remember the teacher had a lot of trouble maintaining discipline. And I understand a professional teacher knows how to handle rowdy kids, but obviously this teacher had a lot of trouble. So that kind of tells me something about, I remember the rowdy class, but I can't remember what I was taught. So that tells you something about the teaching quality. When people come, when they learn by visually and sensing what really happened, they tend not to forget. all of the visitors who come and receive the education that we provide will never forget what happened here at Hard Mountain, and that's what's important for people to remember.